proud Kelly alum, I'm so excited to share that along with Indy Maven, we've partnered with Indiana University Kelley School of Business as we continue to interview female founders in our Indianapolis community. Whether you're ready to deepen your knowledge after a few years in the field or looking to expand your experience-filled resume, you can be ready for whatever life brings with the top-ranked Kelley School of Business Evening MBA in downtown Indianapolis. In 24 months while you work, you'll learn to make better decisions, chart success for organizations, and unlock the talent of people. You'll find your passion and you'll be prepared as new doors of opportunity open. Learn more by clicking the link in the description below. Hi, hello, welcome back to Founder to Founder. I'm super stoked to be sitting here today with Sarah. We are hanging out in, is this Sobro? Is it considered Sobro?
I think so.
Okay,
right?
We're hanging out in Sobro, Refinery 46, where Sarah is normally the one leading the way and facilitating conversations. Today we're flipping it a little bit. So welcome back to Founder to Founder. This is where I, Arianna, founder of More Magazine, get to interview female founders from a variety of industries. And today I'm sharing space and time with Sarah Lacey of Linking Indy Women.
Hi, so good to be here.
Thank you. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you mind introducing yourself a little bit?
No, not at all. So Sarah Lacey with Linking Indy Women, founder of Linking Indy Women, and I've been, doing that for 13 years. I'm also head of partner experience at Adobe, which is kind of my regular day job, in addition to helping to inspire women in our city.
That's amazing. I don't think I knew about your day job, so that's very cool.
Yeah.
That's something I definitely want to chat further about after this, but that's super cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So like I mentioned, we're in the space where you are normally curating the speakers, the panelists, and bringing women together. How did that get started? I know you mentioned it's been 13 years since you launched, which is amazing. And I feel like every time I come, it is a full house, which is also incredibly impressive, especially with events, especially with event attendance, I feel like, in this time. But please tell me the origin story.
Yeah, so 13 years ago, I was at a CEO event at the Skyline Club, Skyline Club, and I was working at this startup, and the CEO of that startup gave me his ticket, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'll go. And so I went, and the speaker was Brad Stevens, and I look around the room. He used to be the Butler head coach and coach of the Celtics. And he's sharing, his story, and I'm looking around the room, and there's only one other woman there out of like a sea of men in suits, right? Wow. And I, of course, gravitate towards her, and we sit next to each other, and she starts telling me her story. And her name was Cecilia Whitfield, and she is still the CEO of Use What You've Got. And she starts telling me her story. I'm like, gosh, and she was doing for 25 years. I had never heard of her before. And I thought, we need these stories to be shared. We need a platform like this. Why aren't you up there sharing your story? And so then the rest is history. I started on LinkedIn, and that's why it's called Linking Indy Women.
Oh, I didn't know that. I love that.
Yeah, cool. It was at a time where on LinkedIn you could actually download the list of people and your group and email them, and it's a little more of a closed platform now, but so
privacy.
I know, right? Yeah, they don't really want to do that anymore. But anyway, so we had our first Linking Indy Women event, and Cecilia was the speaker. We had 14 women in a Noodles and Company in Broad Ripple at 7:30 in the morning. They opened up for us.
That's awesome.
We outgrew that space really quickly, and it just word of mouth. Just women were like, "Oh, you should have this woman speak. You should hear her story. You should," and it just grew. And with that grew a community, and it's just been amazing. It really has. So yeah, that's how it started.
Awesome. I was trying to think back on my drive here, my first Linking Indy Women event, and it was with Jess Hooker.
Oh my gosh.
It was so good. I came here not knowing what to expect. You had amazing food catered by a woman-owned company. Amazing.
Yeah.
And then I got to hear Jess speak, and I remember looking at the promo you had for it, and it was the first time I'd seen it. I think I'd heard about it probably from like Leslie or something like that. And I came in and I was like, she talked about being funny and comedy. And I feel like at that point when I came, I was like, not like in a low spot necessarily, but
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I need something that's gonna like uplift me. And so I came because it said she was funny. And so I was like, good, I need to laugh. But
Yeah.
she shared her story in such an authentic way,
Mm-hmm.
and just different struggles and like different parts of her life that like resonated with me in different ways. And it was the uplifting that I didn't realize I needed at the time.
Yeah.
And I have tried to make every single one since. And it really is, it's a community. It's a lot of women who come to all of the events, but it's a lot of new women who come to each of them
Mm-hmm.
as well, which I think is so cool. And I think at the last, not the last one, because I missed, I think, the last two, which I was very sad about. But when Faith Blackwell was on the panel,
Yeah.
you introduced someone who's doing the blogs now.
Mm-hmm.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
What has it been like growing from 14 women at Noodles & Co.
Yeah.
to being in this co-working space? You guys can't see it. I'm looking out the window at this huge space where women are gathering
Yeah.
each month. What has that transition been like, especially having your day job?
Yeah.
Because I mean, events are a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. However, what is really fascinating to me, and one of the things that was quite surprising as I started, was women don't just build businesses, we build communities.
Mm-hmm.
And that isn't something that we necessarily say, we're going to build this community. It just happens because we are all inclusive, we are collaborative by nature, and we want to help. Like, we are, the helpers. But we're leaders too. And so the women really kept this going. So Heather Lowy reached out and said, hey, I'll write your blog. I had Kicks Digital, which was a woman-owned marketing agency, was like, we'll do your website for you.
Oh, wow.
It just was, and then it just kept going. And there were times from 13 years, I have 4 children. So I'm not a morning person, but women wanted to come in the morning. And I was like, and then if I didn't have it, there was a year or two, I had the executive director at the Speakeasy. It was a really good friend of mine, Denver Hutt. She had passed away, and I was just like, I don't think I can do this anymore. This is hard, just emotionally, just getting back into it. And so I would miss 1 or 2, and women would be like, where are you? What are you doing? Like, we need this. We love this. And it is a safe space for women to come and share their stories and network too. And again, we are very collaborative. So there's not just like, oh, I'm going to pass out 10 business cards. It's like, how can I genuinely help you in your organization and finding an organization? Yeah. And so it kept me going. The women really did keep me going. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. And I feel like too, you just asked, like, how can I help you? How can I support you? And every time I hear that, I think of Latifa and Starla, of course, with their masterclass.
Oh my gosh.
How can I support you right now?
Yes.
And I saw that they were also on the most recent panel. I was so bummed to be out of town. My intern sent it to me and she was like, it is a powerhouse of women on this panel. And I was like, girl, if you are not there. But I heard so many good things about it. And I am in constant awe of the way that you curate the speakers too. I know you've been doing more panels than you've done in the past.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is exciting to see more voices shared in the same space. But I don't know, I'm just trying to think of the right word.
Put it all together.
Yeah, put it all together, because it is such a variety too of different women and different backgrounds, different experiences. Yeah. I remember the panel that Faith was on, you had 2 other women, and one of them, she was like, I did not want to own a business. And so, I mean, like, it's such a good variety of all these different like walks of life and sharing their own successes or just general like true stories as they are. What does that curation look like?
Well, it has been a combination of people that are in my everyday life, and then women that reach out and say, you should really know this woman, she's incredible. And just thinking about, okay, what type of commonalities do they have, and to share that entrepreneurship story, that one in particular. And then what are some of the differences that would be interesting for people that, like Ina, her husband passed away, and she inherited parts of the business that she didn't necessarily want to do, but ended up, doing them, and then finding a tremendous amount of joy in that. And so just knowing how those kind of puzzle pieces fit together, I just kind of think about it in that way. And also there's a piece of it that is really serendipitous. Like it just seems to happen. And I think, again, with women, there's no shortage of us that are willing to help in this city, which is incredible. And I've heard that Indianapolis is, from people that have moved here, has been a wonderful city for women to get integrated in versus like a Chicago or a Nashville or something like that. So we definitely are in the right place for that. Yeah.
That's exciting. That's really exciting. So we were talking beforehand a little bit about how Indianapolis needed this, and you talked about the first event you went to, that you were the only 2 women in the room. How do you see Linking Indy Women growing as the city is also growing and evolving, and there is more space being held for women?
Yeah, I have been, like, I don't want to get emotional here, but it does, bring me to tears where we started and where we are now. A lot of times we do focus on how much further we have to go as women. I'm being in the tech space, that is a continuous struggle for women, for sure, especially here in Indiana, keeping good talent based on some of the things that are happening in our state and policies that are being made, et cetera. So, but I will say that I have watched women just really just embrace each other and take it to that next level. Stuff that Leslie is doing, like, so incredible. Stuff that you're doing, amazing. Yes, Starla and Lativa, and having a voice and a seat at that table, it's like, that was super important 13 years ago, but now we're building our own tables, and it's like, you can come or not, but we're going.
Right, dinner is happening. Arrive or don't.
Yeah. And so that has been incredible. I'm just happy that I have been a small piece of that, but I see Linking Indy Women just continuing to be a platform for women to share authentic stories. And then there's other programming and amazing things that women are doing in the city that I feel like I can tell women to go to. I just, I've thought about evolving it in different ways and doing different things, but sometimes it's like, what you're doing is enough, and I love it. So I'm just gonna keep doing it until I don't.
No, I mean, I think that's awesome, and it's a really good point. Like, you are creating space and holding space for stories to be told, and they're always. I love that when the Q&A gets opened up, it's a very conversational. I remember I was at one of them, and they asked a question, and she kind of answered it, and then she was like, "I don't know, can somebody else answer this a little better?" And then somebody just answered it, and it's like, it's super special to be a speaker at your events, but then it's like the speakers are always very humble, and they open it up to the whole room. Like, it's very unique, and it is very centered on community, like you said, which I've never really thought about it till you said that. Like, you've created a community. More has kind of become more of a community than, like, it's a business, but it's also very much a community. Same with Mavens. And we as women, I feel like, are very good at curating that and, like, creating spaces for people to feel like they're part of a community, which is a very unique attribute to have. That's cool. Thank you for saying that. You also talked, we were joking about, like, the table piece of it, and I'm gonna let you guys know we are in a co-working space. People are setting up. It's the holiday season. We welcome the Jolly Jollies. So there might be background noise. And our camera friend today has an adorable snort laugh. We keep it real here. It's fine. I'm going to bring it back, but we were talking about being at the table, and I feel like the conversation for me as, like, a young professional woman, especially, like, woman of color too, like, to see the evolution of, do I have a seat at the table? how can I get a seat at the table? Will I be welcomed? Like, if I have a seat, do I feel like I should be there? Do I feel welcome by the other people sitting around me? And I think it's really cool the way that you are creating that. Like you said, we are making our own tables.
Yeah.
What tables have you been invited to by other women that has like really helped you be inspired and yeah, feel like you're able to send that elevator back down?
Yeah. Well, this, for example, I mean, this for sure, things like this, the Create Connect collab gals, you know, Lativa and Starla, and it makes me feel like I can give back now, which is weird because I was building, and just, you know, again, just trying to build this platform for women and being a woman in tech and just feeling like so alone. A lot of times I am the only woman at the table. And that gave me so much energy, and I would take those women with me, right? Like all of their stories, all of their passion, struggles, triumphs, all of that, I would take it with me. And so, yeah, now I am kind of focused on giving back, which is so weird to think that I have done that. But yeah, there's been a lot of times, sometimes when you're at the table, you don't want to leave the table because you know it'll be replaced by someone that is, you know, I'm a white male. You know,
say what it is.
I would just say what it is. And so you feel a little bit of an obligation for that. But what I've learned over the years is that you know when it's time to go, and understanding that, listening to your gut, and knowing that, okay, I'm going to build my table somewhere else, you know, or I'm going to get a seat at this next table, and I'm going to show up in this way. And if it's not right for me, I can leave there too, you know. So
I do think it's important too, and I say this expression way too much now, I forget where I heard it, but sending that elevator back down, because I think we're in a unique position, and just the time that we're in right now, where yes, I don't disagree with you, very regularly if you leave, more than likely you'll be replaced by somebody that has always had a seat and has always had like a ticket to the table. But I look at like our internship program and the way we're setting up our team, which has been primarily women, for success, for that next step. And it makes me feel a little more excited that where I leave, I know somebody else has the tools to be there and be there confidently.
Yes.
And so that part makes me really, really excited.
Yes. And I do take coffee meetings with women that reach out and say, hey, I want to pick your brain. Or, like, for example, I had a meeting yesterday with a woman that I met at Create Connect Collab.
Cool.
She has changed her career to UX design, and working for Adobe and some of my connections there. I was like, let's talk. Let's figure out what you're doing, how I can help you. I had her sit on a call with me to kind of learn like what it's actually like, you know, in that industry, because she is just starting out. Is that something she wants to do? And I feel like, again, it's really weird to me that I'm giving back now in my career, because you know, for so long as women, you know, we are building, and like we turn around and we're like, oh my gosh, like I can help other women in this capacity. It's just been, it's a lot of fun. But I will say, starting out with Linking Indy Women, and one of the things that I've been deliberate about over the last few years is making sure that it is diverse. So Cecilia, I was very deliberate to ensure we had a diverse group of women. And Cecilia is a woman of color, and I have, over the years, if I feel like we are going down a path of, we've been through a year and this is not what I want Linking Indy Women to look like, this is not our community, I have pivoted and made sure that we're all inclusive. Like we represent all women, you know. So I'm pretty proud of that.
Yeah, I mean, I love that it's something that you're conscious of, and almost to the point that it's kind of just when I think of Linking Indy Women, it's kind of what I expect almost.
Good.
I mean, yeah,
Good,
it's
good.
just it's always interesting because I was talking with Michael Huber, and so he mentioned like the
Mhm.
magazine is very
Mhm.
diverse and all these things, and he's
Mhm.
like, how much work is that? Or I forget the
Yeah.
question. I don't want to
Yeah.
misquote him.
Yeah.
But I was like, it's really not when you just when it's part of like your baseline,
Mhm.
it's kind of just normalized at that
Yeah.
point. And I feel like so many people, like I know in college, I was in, I forget what class it was some marketing class.
Mhm.
And it was around the time that like all of the skincare and beauty brands were just not hitting the mark.
Mm.
Like there was something where they didn't show like different skin colors with swatches, and
Mhm.
so a bunch of people asked for it, and so they literally took the same hand that was photoshopped. I remember like this, and then just like slightly changed the tint, and everyone's like, "We can see your LinkedIn, we can see your staff page. You have people of color on staff. Literally, just take a picture of their arm and put it on the website." And so I just think about how like we're
Yeah.
growing up and a lot of us now are like business leaders and
Mhm.
like in the spaces where we can make those decisions. And
Mhm.
I feel like women like you have paved the way of being like, this is what I'm doing so that when we do it, it's not so not hard and it's
Yeah.
not like, oh, you're trying to do something when it's
Mhm.
like, no, we're being representative of the people in our community.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so that's just no question there. Just
No.
bravo.
Well, I was just, I mean, there is a certain amount of, I mean, of privilege that comes with being white,
Mhm.
and we have to talk about it,
Yeah.
and we have to bring other women of color in the technology space.
Mhm. Yeah, 100%. Are
Mhm.
you, so what is, not to get all into tech,
Mhm.
but I'm always interested. And I had an intern ask me one time, like, she's a woman of color
Mhm.
as well. And so she was like, I am nervous of situations I might come into,
Mhm.
which I totally get and respect.
Mhm.
But it was that she was so nervous almost that she didn't even want to pursue anything.
Mhm.
And so, how do you balance that, especially with people who do ask for coffee? Like, how do you
Mhm.
encourage them in a way that's like, there are such, because she had just heard of so many different things that she
Yeah.
was just like
Yeah.
scared of it. But I'm like,
Okay.
bad things
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like you can't let that. So how do you manage that,
That's a good
especially?
question. I felt it in ways, right? And it's been personal to me, but it's personal to whoever is experiencing it, and it's probably even more so of women in color, just because of the technology space has historically been white men, because those are the ones that have invested, they have the money to invest.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, there's this like me, you hire people that look like
Mm-hmm.
me, and that's kind of historically what it's been.
Yeah.
And there's other industries that are like that.
Right.
But what I always try to encourage women to know that, you know, there are people, there are advocates that
Mm-hmm.
and allies that you can coach ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there have been men that I have coached that said, look, like we're going to go into this meeting. Historically, this person interrupts me. Let's come up with a plan to say, oh, Sarah, you were talking, what were you going to say?
Yeah.
You know, so helping your allies to equip them
Mm-hmm.
with those tools, I think, is important. It's
Yeah.
not an easy conversation to have, but there are helpers too. You just have to find them, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. And I've never thought about having that conversation in that way with coworkers. I feel like I
Mm-hmm.
have that conversation with like friends or
Yeah,
like my partner, but never in the workplace. That is very enlightening. Okay.
yeah. I mean, it can be tough, but it's always fruitful no matter what, because you can figure out, okay, is this person going to help me in other scenarios and
Mm-hmm.
conversations? And it's a muscle, right? It just gets easier and easier when you speak up. And there's been times where people will say things that are inappropriate and they don't even know that
Mm-hmm.
it's inappropriate. But it's also getting those allies or advocates, and having conversations with them and say, this bothered me, you know, what did you think about this? And then
Yeah.
having them kind of help, you know, spear that conversation too,
Yeah.
um, so that it doesn't happen next time. Because there's sometimes in business, there are just phrases that are not appropriate and
Yeah.
are like, one of them in tech is kind of, and people, they'll like, let's just open up the kimono and figure out like what we're gonna do here. And I'm like,
Oh.
that yeah.
Yeah.
And that has been a reference. And I've had to say to people on calls, that
Yeah.
is not
No.
appropriate.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, so things like that, like
Mhm.
just inherently things that men seem to think is okay to say in meetings that is not okay
Yeah.
to say and is offensive.
That could be a copybook of all the phrases that men say that they think are okay
That
to
are
say.
they think they're okay to say, and you have to explain to them, like, no, that's not okay to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, moving to things that we can look forward to,
Yes.
at least. Are there any more events coming up for this year? Is there one more in December?
Yeah. No, I have taken a break
Okay.
for the rest of December.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You deserve that.
Yeah,
You
I was
deserve
like,
rest.
I'm taking my family on a cruise, which I'm excited about, and
That's awesome.
taking some time. But January the 3rd, Wednesday in January is our
Awesome.
next event. The speaker I have not announced yet, but I'm excited to announce. Yeah.
Very cool. And then for our community, how can we keep up with you and your community?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I think just if there are speakers like yourself that would like to share their story with us, we would love to help, facilitate those conversations, and vice versa. If there are women that have spoke at Linking Indy Women that you think might be good for you to interview or highlight or whatever,
That'd
we
be
can
awesome.
help collaborate there too.
And the Instagram handle is
Linking Indy Women. Yeah, Linking Indy Women. Yeah, the Twitter is a little bit shortened because
That's okay.
Yeah,
that's okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to share the Twitter?
It's just Link Indy Women.
Perfect.
Yeah,
love that. And then a final question before we close out today, Sarah, how do you inspire yourself?
Gosh, I would say I surround myself with women that challenge me. I like to be challenged, my thinking, how I'm evolving, moving in the world. I make sure that the group of women that I surround myself with are going to tell me, their thoughts and their ideas, and help me to evolve as a human being. So that is definitely, that's how I stay inspired, and that's how I inspire myself, is through those connections and those relationships. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing space. Thank you for going through the moving and the sounds. And thank you all for also enduring that with us. It is exciting and it's a wonderful time of the year. And we will see you guys next time on Founder to Founder. And thank you so much to IU Kelley School of Business for continuing to support us as we interview female founders in a variety of industries. We'll see you next time.